You're not being treated like shit because you got a good tan. You're not being treated like shit because you can't get a tan. You're being treated like shit because you're poor. That's why you're being treated like shit. Which means that that the largest majority of poor people that might be African American are only going to be treated like that until they stop being poor. So how do you change the way your society treats you? You change yourself. Because that's how you change your society. You change the world around you by first changing yourself. You hold yourself accountable. Then you hold the people around you accountable. Then you hold your neighborhood accountable. You do not do business with people that don't have the type of attitude that you support. Just like in Hong Kong, you can't even get money over there. You can't even get finance over there because your credit over there is your reputation. How much people like you. Whereas in America, everybody can hate you, but if you put enough millions on the table, they will fuck with you. They will do business with demons because there's money on the table. But you go to Asia and try that. You act American in Asia and see how many business deals you're going to get over there. It ain't going to work. If you don't show them respect on their level, mutual respect on their level, or a higher level of respect just because you don't know what mutual is, they won't even do business with you over there. Because, excuse his behavior because he's American is only going to go so far. After a while, they're going to be like, I don't want to mess with him because he's American. Just trying to tell you. And then he said, so he already talked about that. Did you invest in any of those things? Yeah. And 8.5 generations. 8.5 is generous is what he wrote. And I saw generations. I'm tired, y'all. I'm tired. I ain't going to cop. I ain't going to cap because I usually don't run a 4-hour podcast. I usually run a 1 to 2 hour podcast, 2 hours and 30 minutes. I usually stop at 3 hours. But because you guys are so involved, I don't want to just end the podcast short-lived that you guys walked in on the back end. So I carry the podcast an extra 2.5 hours for you. Just admit you don't know how to say or use the word if you really learn from your mistakes. Bro, I can admit that I can't see the word because I am too far away from the screen and the words are not big enough for me to read on the sideline because I got a picture-in-picture scenario over here so that I can see whoever decides to come into the green room and see the comment section. And I can tell you, sir, that my screen is in a 9:16 format right now, not a 16:9 format. So I can tell you that everything is smaller than it's supposed to be on this laptop. And a laptop is far enough away from me that it is not close enough for me to be able to see whether that's an O or an A when I'm looking at some of these words. Do I need glasses? Yes. Are these prescription? Yes, but they are also 2 years old. So I do need to update my prescription. I can admit I probably should get some better glasses. But that does not mean that I am not educated because I can't see some of the words that I'm looking at on the screen. I wouldn't call you stupid if you did not type the words clearly. I would decipher your words and still answer your question with the utmost respect. But again, you're not going to prove me wrong by putting facts on the table. You're going to try to devalue my character by trying to make it seem like I'm uneducated because I am not reading the word on the screen the way you wrote it. But I spent the first 2 hours of my podcast talking about all 10 of the executive orders that's going into effect right now. And I had no problem with reading all of that off of a script that I spent 5 hours creating after I did research for days to get that information from more than one source, might I add. Oh, now it's some non-minorities, just pathetic. Bro, I'm not even going to entertain that. It's not just some minorities, some non-minorities. My statement is not going to change from one point to another. You're not going to put words in my mouth. Yes, words are hard. Words are definitely hard. And you're very sensitive, sir. Very, very sensitive. And that's one of the reasons why you're being so defensive about racism when we have a whole podcast today about executive orders from the new president of the United States that has not been in office for 24 hours and has made drastic changes around our society. And you have managed to divert the conversation from the political change and financial investment that we need to have, the ability to learn and grow and better and improve ourselves, to talking about racism. My podcast is never solely about racism. My podcast is never solely about sexism. My podcast is never solely about, oh, I'm a victim. Because I'm going to tell you something. I've never said I'm a victim. I am financially successful, which is why I can tell you that you can be financially successful too. So I'm not sitting over here playing the victim card. I'm not saying that the country is holding me back. I've already declared that at the top 10 countries of this podcast will be some of the first countries that we take a tour of when we start going on tour on this podcast, which means that it is in my plan to take this channel all over the world. You understand? I'm a victim.